Good morning. Today we'll be seeing most important topic in chemotherapy, that is about cephalosporins. Why I'm saying it's so important is because it's used widely in practice. So most of these drugs are used currently. So they are most important. So why you need to know more about cephalosporins is they have broad spectrum of activity and they differ from penicillins in that they are stable to beta lactamases. Not all the cephalosporins. There are 5 generations in cephalosporins. First generation, like your penicillins, are susceptible to beta lactamases. And second generation, they are partly resistant to beta lactamases. Third generation, they are resistant to beta lactamases. And fourth and fifth generations are also more resistant compared to third generation to beta lactamases. And they are also available in oral and parenteral preparations and they are widely accepted. So why they are more commonly used is it treats your day-to-day infections as well as serious infections also, and they have a high safety profile, so cephalosporins are preferred by practitioners. So I have said there are 5 generations. So this spectrum again changes from first to fifth generation. So as we see, first generation, they are more active against gram positive organisms. A few among the first generation have some activity against gram negative, but they are most active against your gram positive organisms. Second generation, they have moderate activity against both gram positive and gram negative organisms. And third generation, predominantly they are active against gram negative organisms. So as we see, the spectrum is changing from gram positive to gram negative. And your fourth and fifth generations, they are active against both gram positive and gram negative organisms and resistant organisms, which we'll be discussing later. So, and these cephalosporins are not useful for some infections. We can remember as cephal. So, Cl, we can remember as Cl. So, what does this C stands for? The C stands for Clostridium difficile infections. And again for Campylobacter jejuni infections, L stands for Listeria, that is Listeria monocytogenes, which is responsible for causing meningitis and listeriosis. So in all these infections, cephalosporins are not useful. We can remember by using this mnemonic CL. C for Campylobacter jejuni, Clostridium difficile, L stands for Listeria. So what are the uses of this first generation cephalosporins? So they are used in impetigo, cellulitis, and also for prophylaxis of surgical wound infections. As I said, they are mostly active against gram-positive organisms like your Staphylococcus, Streptococcus. So this staph is responsible for causing impetigo, Staphylococcus, and also Streptococcus pyogenes, cellulitis, which is again caused by Streptococcus pyogenes and Staph aureus. In all these conditions, first generation cephalosporins are useful, and also for prophylaxis of surgical wound infections. In these also first generation cephalosporins they find useful. So as we said, they are active against gram positive bacteria except enterococci and methicillin resistant Staph aureus. And among this, cephadroxil and also cefalexin, they are useful in conditions like UTA because they are useful in gram negative infections like E. coli, Proteus, Klebsiella. So PEC stands for Proteus, E. coli and Klebsiella infections. And cefalexin is also indicated for streptococcal pharyngitis. So as we could see here, so this X, again here X is there. So X we can remember as, we can remember this as a symbol of opposite. So why I am saying opposite here is, mainly the first generation cephalosporins are useful in gram positive infections, whereas your drugs which have this X, which is opposite, gram negative infections. So cefadroxil and cefalexin, so they are useful in UTA because they are highly concentrated in urine. They are useful in infections like UTA, which is due to E. coli. Okay, So cefadroxil and cefalexin. So majority cephalosporins will be little bit confusing because all will have the same starting as cefa. Only this suffix part differs. So we have to be very clear in which drug is useful in which condition. So this X we can remember as something opposite. So usually first generations are active in gram positive infections and this X stands for opposite. So they are useful in gram negative infections like E. coli which produces UTI, cefadroxil and cefalexin. And one another drug I said they are also useful in surgical prophylaxis. Okay, prophylaxis of surgical wound infections. So cefazolin is mainly used as a prophylactic for surgical procedures because its longest acting, okay, its longest acting history half is around 2 hours. So we can remember this as zip. So is it, when we say the alphabet is it, we can say words like zebra, zip, that comes to our mind. So zip, Z stands for cefazolin in prophylaxis. Cefazolin in prophylaxis of surgical procedures. So now coming to the second generation drugs. So second generation drugs, where they are useful. Again, they are useful in conditions of diabetic foot infections, in case of lung abscess and in case of pelvic inflammatory diseases. Okay. So abscess, so which is mainly due to anaerobic organisms. So this second generation cephalosporins, they are useful in anaerobic infections. So they are mainly effective against, they have moderate activity against both gram positive and gram negative. So mainly effective against gram negative bacteria like H. influenzae, M stands for Moraxella, P stands for again Proteus, E. coli and K for Klebsiella. So among these second generation drugs, this cefotetan and cefoxitin, they are active highly against this Bacteroides fragilis, anaerobic organism. And cefotetan, where it's mostly preferred in case of prophylaxis of anaerobic infections, especially in colorectal surgeries. So cefotetan is used for anaerobic infections, especially in colorectal surgeries. And both cefoxitin and cefotetan can be used in pelvic inflammatory diseases and lung abscess. So these are the conditions where your second generation cephalosporins play a major role. Now coming to third generation cephalosporins, this you could see a case of meningitis. Again, this third generation drugs are useful in meningitis due to H. influenza, Streptococcus pneumoniae and Neisseria meningitis. In all these conditions, third generation cephalosporins are useful. Also in case of gonorrhea, which is caused by Neisseria gonorrhoeae, and in case of pneumonia due to Streptococcus pneumoniae, in community acquired pneumonia, your third generation cephalosporins are useful. And Pseudomonas aeruginosa, for this ceftazidime is most important in this. It's highly effective against Pseudomonas aeruginosa infection. Ceftazidime, I'll say the mnemonic later. So third generation cephalosporins, they are useful in conditions. So we can remember this as must. Third generation is must. So M stands for meningitis, U stands for UTI, S stands for sepsis and T stands for typhoid. So meningitis, UTI, sepsis and typhoid. Third generation must. So among the third generation, ceftriaxone plays a major role. Ceftriaxone is again the drug of choice for meningitis due to H. influenzae. Okay, so H. influenzae, either Streptococcus pneumonia, Neisseria meningitis, this ceftriaxone is useful. But where the cephalosporins are not at all useful, in case of meningitis due to listeria. Okay, in all other meningitis, again ceftriaxone it can be given empirically in the management of meningitis. Even when the causative organism is not known initially, ceftriaxone should be given immediately. Okay, and is also the drug of choice for gonorrhea. Even your second generation cephalosporin, that is cefuroxime, is used in treatment of gonorrhea as a single dose. Cefuroxime, which is a second generation, and ceftriaxone is a drug of choice for again gonorrhea. Again is also used in treatment of typhoid, multi-drug resistant typhoid fever. For typhoid, fluoroquinolones are preferred as a first line agents, and ceftriaxone can be given for multi-drug resistant typhoid fever, and it's also used in case of sepsis and UTI. So must, meningitis, UTI, sepsis and typhoid. In all these conditions, ceftriaxone is a drug of choice. Then what is the difference between ceftriaxone and cefotaxime, which is also a drug preferred for many respiratory infections like community acquired pneumonia and also in meningitis. Cefotaxime is also preferred equally as that of ceftriaxone. This ceftriaxone is not advised in neonates as it can cause kernicterus by interfering with the bilirubin metabolism. Whereas your cefotaxime is preferred in neonates as it doesn't interfere with your bilirubin metabolism. So it can be preferred in neonates, cefotaxime. So that is the drawback with ceftriaxone, which cannot be given in neonates. And another third generation drugs like ceftazidime, cefoperazone, they are having excellent activity against Pseudomonas infection, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So the meningitis due to Pseudomonas, again the drug of choice is ceftazidime. And cefixime is another oral third generation cephalosporin, which also it's used in respiratory infections, urinary infections. So again in otitis media. So in all these conditions, cefixime, which is oral third generation drugs, and these drugs ceftriaxone, cefotaxime, ceftazidime, cefoperazone, these are parental third generation cephalosporins. So another one, mnemonic ZIP, the same ZIP stands for. So Z type, ceftazidime, and this P, perazone, ZIP for P. So ZIP for Pseudomonas infection, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So ceftazidime, cefoperazone for Pseudomonas aeruginosa infections. So among these third generation cephalosporins, ceftriaxone is longest acting and cefotaxime is shortest acting. And the drug of choice for multi-drug resistant, again ceftriaxone is given. And oral, if you want to start orally a cephalosporin for typhoid fever, then you can go for cefixime. And what is the drug of choice for Pseudomonas? Apart from Pseudomonas, is also the drug of choice in febrile neutropenia with hematological malignancies and melioidosis. The drug is P. So ZIP. So ceftazidime is a drug of choice for Pseudomonas, febrile neutropenia and melioidosis. So these are the common organisms against which cephalosporins are effective. Pseudomonas, again the drug of choice is ceftazidime, and also cefoperazone is active. P stands for cefoperazone. Salmonella, we can say it as typhoid. So tri. So ceftriaxone, and P stands for again cefoperazone. So which drug you will be confusing? So when you read the drug repeatedly, you can use this mnemonic and you can remember. For Bacteroides fragilis, ceftriaxone. So all these are third generation cephalosporins. And meningitis and community acquired pneumonia, so you can use either ceftriaxone or cefotaxime. Ceftriaxone or cefotaxime. So these are the third generation cephalosporins which are useful in conditions like community acquired pneumonia, meningitis, Bacteroides fragilis, typhoid, that is due to Salmonella typhi, and in Pseudomonas infections. So these are the overall indications of cephalosporins. So as we discussed already, typhoid, again your third generation cephalosporin is preferred as an alternative to fluoroquinolone, ceftriaxone. And gonorrhea, as I discussed, so ceftriaxone, which is a third generation, and also a second generation drug, cefuroxime, also useful in gonorrhea. And meningitis, ceftriaxone or cefotaxime can be preferred in meningitis. And infections of gram-negative bacteria, again you can be giving cefotaxime, which is a third generation, and cefuroxime, which is a second generation. Surgical prophylaxis, cefazolin, which is a first generation drug. This is a just recap. Okay, so when if the patient is allergic to penicillin, we can go for cephalosporin first generation like cefazolin and cefalexin. Okay, cefazolin and cefalexin. And hospital acquired infections, we can go for cefotaxime and cefepime. Cefepime is a fourth generation, we will be seeing next. Cefotaxime is a third generation. And infections in neutropenic patients and in Pseudomonas, I said ZIP, ceftazidime. So this is a just recap of all the first, second and third generation cephalosporins, where they are useful, where their role is mainly there. Now coming to the fourth generation cephalosporins, again as I said, they are active against both gram-negative and gram-positive. Okay, they have extended spectrum of activity. Okay, again they have greater resistance to beta-lactamases compared with your third generation drugs, and also they are active against Enterobacter, okay, Pseudomonas, Acinetobacter. Okay, in all these infections, these fourth generation cephalosporins are useful. And again they can also cross blood-brain barrier, and they are effective in case of meningitis. So which includes cefepime and cefepirone. Now let's move on to the 5th generation cephalosporins which have a role in their names. Ceftobipirole and ceftaroline. Roll. Okay. So they are active mainly against methicillin resistant Staph aureus. Okay. Penicillin resistant pneumococci in case of Pseudomonas and Enterococci. In all these conditions, your 5th generation cephalosporins are useful. We have seen none other cephalosporins was useful in management of MRSA. Only the 5th generation cephalosporins are useful in the management of methicillin resistant Staph aureus infections. Now let's see what are the drugs useful in MRSA infections. To remember that, we use this mnemonic vast role. So for methicillin resistant Staph aureus infection, vancomycin is the drug of choice. Again, for both methicillin resistant and vancomycin resistant Staph aureus infections, what are the other drugs apart from vancomycin? Oxazolidindiones. So oxazolidindiones, which includes your linezolid group of drugs. Linezolid. And other S stands for streptogramins and T stands for tigecycline. So which comes under your tetracycline group, tigecycline, and roll stands for ceftaroline, ceftobipirole, which are the 5th generation cephalosporins. So these are the drugs which are useful in MRSA and VRSA infections. Now we have discussed the uses of cephalosporins. Now we are coming to the adverse effects part. So as here penicillins, these drugs can also cause hypersensitivity reactions, which is more common, and among the hypersensitivity reactions, maculopapular rash is more common. Again, like your penicillins, they can also cause anaphylaxis, bronchospasm and urticarias. And nephrotoxicity is common with certain cephalosporins, especially cephaloridin and cefalothin. So these two drugs, they are highly prone to cause nephrotoxicity, cephaloridin and another drug cefalothin. So both are first generation drugs. Okay. So first generation drugs, even they can cause renal tubular necrosis. So we have to be carefully use these drugs in case of renal impairment. Cephaloridin and cefalothin, we can remember as thin and orid. Okay, thin and orid, they are because they can cause nephrotoxicity. Cefalothin and cephaloridin. So in all these, we can see in first generation, cephal is a prefix part and suffix part we have to remember. So here it is orid and another drug cefalothin. Okay. And next thing is, some drugs can cause thrombophlebitis on IV administration, and super infections can also be seen with these drugs. And diarrhea is common with certain oral cephalosporins. Certain oral cephalosporins like cephaloridin can cause diarrhea. Okay. And other parenteral drugs like cefoperazone, ceftriaxone, moxalactam can cause diarrhea. So how to remember this? So diarrhea, because these cefoperazone and ceftriaxone, they are excreted largely in bile. Okay, so they can cause diarrhea. Even the ceftriaxone can precipitate as calcium salt, so it can cause pseudolithiasis. So for diarrhea, we need drip. So remember as TRIP. So tri stands for ceftriaxone and P stands for cefoperazone. For diarrhea, we need drip. So we can remember as TRIP, which can cause diarrhea. And these drugs, cefamandole, which is a second generation drug, moxalactam and cefoperazone. So cefamandole, moxalactam and cefoperazone. So this cefamandole is a second generation drug, and moxalactam and cefoperazone, these are third generation drugs. Okay, these are third generation drugs. These drugs can cause bleeding disorders, and also these drugs can cause disulfiram reaction when taken with alcohol. So the symptoms like flushing, tachycardia and vomiting can occur. So bleeding disorders, why? Because due to some structural molecular arrangement. So they contain N-methyl 5-thiotetrazole. Okay. So these drugs, they contain N-methyl 5-thiotetrazole. So which is responsible for causing bleeding. Okay. So methyl thiotetrazole group. So which can cause again hypoprothrombinemia. So which can lead to bleeding, and administering vitamin K corrects the problem. So how to remember these due to the structural problem? So we can remember as M, MO here, again P. So molecular pathology we can. So MO stands for moxalactam and cefmandole, and P stands for cefoperazone. Since they contain this MTT group, methyl thiotetrazole group, they are prone to cause hypoprothrombinemia, ultimately resulting in bleeding, and they are prone to cause disulfiram reactions. These are the specific adverse drug reactions of cephalosporins. Now let's move on to pharmacokinetics again. So cefazolin, so we have seen this is the first generation drug. It's a long acting drug. T half is 2 hours around, I have said. So it's 80% plasma protein bound. So plasma protein bound binding increases the duration of action, that we know. So cefalexin is only 10 to 15% protein bound. So majority, so first generation and second generation, so majority are lipids insoluble except your cefuroxime. Cefuroxime is a second generation which achieves a good concentration in meninges, so it can be used in meningitis. Second generation cefuroxime, but it's not preferred since third generation drugs are more effective in case of meningitis, like a ceftriaxone, okay, cefotaxime. Okay, third generation drugs are highly lipid soluble, and these drugs, cephalosporins, are mainly excreted unchanged by kidney either due to through glomerular filtration or tubular secretion, except your ceftriaxone and cefoperazone. So they are excreted in bile and they are more prone to cause diarrhea. And probenecid is a drug which slows the elimination of cephalosporins. It interferes with the tubular secretion and prolongs the T half of cephalosporins, except again cefoperazone. Again we have seen it's excreted in bile. So now let's move on to the how these drugs acquire resistance. It's again similar to your penicillins. So which is the most common mechanism? Again, inactivation of the antibiotic by beta lactamase, cephalosporinase, which is the most common mechanism of resistance to cephalosporins. Again, modification of target binding, that is penicillin binding proteins, and impaired penetration of the drug to the target, and presence of efflux pump. So these are the other modes of resistance. So mechanism like penicillins, these are also cell wall synthesis inhibitors. So they bind to penicillin binding proteins, and these drugs, they interfere with the cell wall synthesis. So it interferes with the transpeptidase activity, which is responsible for cross-linking. So like penicillins, it interferes with the cell wall synthesis. So now what are the drug interactions? So again we have discussed cephalosporins, they are prone to cause nephrotoxicity, especially the first generation drugs like cefloridin and cefalothin, oridanthin. Okay, so loop diuretics and aminoglycosides can again exacerbate that, it can increase the nephrotoxicity caused by cephalosporins. So you should be cautious while using these drugs together with cephalosporins. And probenecid, again it increases the T half of cephalosporins by interfering with the tubular secretion. So now at last we have come to classification, because when I say the classification first, definitely you'll stop listening, because this is one of the toughest classification in pharmacology, because everything starts with kef. Only the suffix part differs. Everything starts with kef or kefal. So it's very tough to remember. So we can make it easy again. So first know the uses of each generation, then adverse effects specific for certain drugs, and lastly come to cephalosporins. So as we have discussed, there are 5 generations of cephalosporins. 4th and 5th generation are very easy to remember. So 5th generation, they contain a role in their name, ceftaroline. They play a major role in treatment of MRSA infections, but these are not, the other generations are not. So ceftaroline, ceftobipirole. And 4th generation drugs, they are more or less similar, that is pime and pyrrome. Only 2 drugs, pime and pyrrome. This is your 4th generation. Now coming to the remaining drugs. So first generation again, which includes these drugs like cefazolin. So I have said ZIP. So ZIP. So cefazolin in prophylaxis of surgical infections. Cefalothin. So these are parenteral agents. Cefazolin. So zolin is given in prophylaxis of surgical infections parenterally. And lothin, cefalothin. Other drugs, oral drugs will include. So oral, OR. So DRO. So OR you can remember reverse. So cefadroxil. Okay. Cefadroxil and cefalexin, Cefadroxil, okay, cefaloredin also, okay. So cefadroxil and cefalexin, we have seen where they are used. They are used in UTI, okay. Oxil, cefadroxil, cefalexin, they achieve higher concentrations in urine and they are used in treatment of UTI, okay. And what we have seen about cefalothin, important point is thin. So cefalothin and cefaloredin, they cause more nephrotoxicity. So this is the importance of your first generation. Now coming to the second generation, again here, what are the drugs which have OR in their name? Cefaclor, okay, cefaclor. Then here reverse RO is there. Cefaclor, Prozil is there. RO, okay, Prozil. And another drug, cefuroxime acetyl, but only exception is here also OR is there. Cefuroxime acetyl comes under oral, whereas cefuroxime alone comes under your parenteral second generation drugs. And these drugs, cefotetan and cefoxitin, we have highlighted these drugs, cefoxitin and cefotetan, they are mainly effective against Bacteroides fragilis. So used in conditions like lung abscess, pelvic inflammatory diseases, okay, diabetic foot infections. And what about cefuroxime? We have seen its importance in meningitis, also in gonorrhea, cefuroxime, okay. Now the last, about third generation, which we have remembered using the mnemonic MUST, meningitis, UTI, sepsis and typhoid. So we can see all the parenteral drugs, majority they have T in their name, and all the oral drugs they have D in their name. So T, cefotaxime, ceftazidime, ceftriaxone, ceftriaxone. So all have T in their name except T for third. Exception is cefoperazone, okay. So, cefotaxime and ceftriaxone, both these we have seen they are used in case of meningitis and also in community acquired pneumonia. Ceftriaxone and we have remembered as, Triage, okay, Triage. So, ceftriaxone, cefotaxime for meningitis and community acquired pneumonia. So, ceftazidime we remembered as ZIP for Pseudomonas aeruginosa infection, ceftazidime and cefoperazone for Pseudomonas infection, ZIP drugs, and ceftriaxone for anaerobes, okay, Bacteroides fragilis infections. So this is the importance of your third generation. And these drugs, oral drugs include cefdinir, cefditoran, cefpodoxime proxetil, ceftibuten and cefixime. Okay, so this is one exception where T comes, but it's not a parenteral drug. This is an oral drug, ceftibuten, okay. And cefixime, we have highlighted, cefixime is given orally in the management of typhoid, okay, oral drug of choice. When you want to give a cephalosporin, oral generation preferably, then go for cefixime is a oral drug of choice. So this is about your cephalosporin. What are the available cephalosporins in government hospitals? So you can go and refer in your ward, and the routes in which they are given. The drugs, again, what are the drug of choice for typhoid fever among the cephalosporins, and which drug is used in surgical prophylaxis, and again among the cephalosporins, what are the drugs given for meningitis? At least two you have to remember and say in case of typhoid fever and meningitis, 2 drugs. And most common adverse drug reactions for cephalosporins, any 2 you have to say, and 2 disulfiram reaction causing drugs, at least 2, and diarrhea causing cephalosporins. Identify the drug and name the generation. So by using connections, you have to identify what is the drug and you have to mention to which generation it belongs. So you have to identify the connection, what is the drug and what is the generation. What is the most common mode of resistance for cephalosporins? And which drugs have maximum resistance to beta lactamases? Which drugs? Any 2 drugs you have to say. And what are the other mechanisms of resistance? You have to mention other 2 mechanisms. Which group of drugs has to be given with caution? That is in respect to drug interactions. Along with cephalosporins, which other drugs need to be given with caution? Why? You have to say. And exceptions to this. So which cephalosporins doesn't come into this drug interaction. And what is the role of probenecid, you have to say. So you have to say the spectrum, especially for ceftriaxone. You have to say, mention the microorganisms names, at least 2 you have to say. And cephadroxyl spectrum, specific spectrum for cephadroxyl, and spectrum for cefotetan. Longest acting third generation, shortest acting third generation, longest acting first generation, and what are the drugs which are excreted biliary? At least 2 drugs you have to say among the cephalosporins. Which step does cephalosporins inhibit? In mechanism, which step does cephalosporin inhibit, and what is its difference from penicillin and other drugs acting by the same mechanism? Apart from cephalosporins, what are the drugs which act by the same mechanism? And for diabetic foot infection, which drug is given and what is the generation you have to mention? And last one, a case of meningitis was treated empirically. Next, the culture showed Pseudomonas. So, which drug was changed to which? So, I mean here, so empirically some drug would have been started for the patient. After seeing the culture report, they have changed the antibiotic. So, which drug was given initially and to which drug it was changed. And you have to say it can be combined with which drug. And this drug is also the drug of choice for any other conditions. We have to say. So, only if you know the question for the answer for the first question, you can answer the subsequent questions. And any other drug can it be used for meningitis. So, these are the activities given for cephalosporins. Thank you. Thank you.